Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Jeremy. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. How's it going?
Pretty good. Busy week. I calculated that I've done like 14 hours standing up presenting this week.
Wow. That's too much for anyone to take.
Too much for anyone to take. That's a good description of it. It's been hard work, I tell you, physical labour.
Wow. That's what,
and intellectual.
Two things. God. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up, where we look at everything to do with the London market, technology, change, innovation. This week, we're going to have some more reflections from the AirMic event last week that I was at, and also your awards, which was on Tuesday at Ben, which is great. But first, and we're also going to have a little video around the next-gen web and what it means for the London insurance market. So don't let me forget that. So anyway, let's start with the news. Should we start with Direct Line, Ben?
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd carry on with the motor theme because it keeps coming up and there's more and more stuff about it. And obviously, one of the issues is that there's a real pressure now on financial institutions, but insurers in particular, I think because of cost of living crisis and interest rates and inflation, etc. So this is a story about Direct Line, and they've been called out by the FCA saying that they need to review all their total losses, write-offs in the last 5 years for car and van insurance customers, because they believe they've been underpaying on the claims, which is an odd article and an odd thing to hear, because you would have thought that there might have been a couple or some or whatever, but they're saying that they have to review every single one. So they must have found something systemic that's a problem, it seems to me, which is problematic. So Direct Line, which has actually not been doing very well at all recently, and not in its business, it's really struggling, like many car insurers are. As another body blow, as they sort of call it.
Yeah, it is interesting where they've got the information from, isn't it? And also just on that, in terms of kind of financial health or the business model for motor, it was interesting last week, as I think back about the eShore presentation where they were talking about their re-platforming, so moving to a very kind of agile, data-rich environment where they could try and evolve the products in order to kind of meet this changing both consumer, I guess, in terms of their demands, but also the economic environment and the cost of parts and the time and all that kind of thing. So it's really interesting, isn't it?
It is, and I suspect though that there's going to be problems going forward, because the greater the reliance on the software, the more, in a sense, you could say goes well and works, but some will not work, and you'll have probably bigger systemic issues like this than you even have now, because mostly it's done manually, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's unlikely to be as systemic as all that, unless it's deliberate, of course. I think the other thing that's interesting at the end of this article, it talks about the insurers have been called in, people like Admiral and others, to talk through what their emergency offer is for people who have difficulties in paying mortgages or anything else. So and there's an example here that one of the MPs was saying in Parliament, there was a gas explosion and hundreds of residents had to leave their homes and be put into temporary accommodation, which the local authority funded at a cost of about 2 million, and was asking, why did the insurers not cover that? Why did the home insurance policies not cover that, I presume? Now, I don't know the ins and outs of that and won't comment on that, but I think I was at a claims day yesterday for a big insurer, and we were talking at the end about more green products, more products that were there to assist and help people in different ways. I think it's just a sort of thing that is becoming more on the agenda, which is what can insurance have a sort of more of a role, if you like, in helping on societal issues or pressures, as opposed to what we have at the moment, which is, and this was also in the discussion yesterday, was, well, we just have our old standard range of products and services that we've never changed. And this is a very go-ahead insurer, I think. So I think the innovation thing is coming and has got to come. We're not, the insurance industry isn't doing enough in this area.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, as I say, I think the combination of the way that technology is driving change in society as a whole, how customer, let's forget about motor, let's look at wider customer expectations are changing around risk. And also let's bring in the article from Robin Mertens on LinkedIn, which was really interesting. He was citing an article in the Sunday Times, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I read this morning where it was talking about the amount of red tape that's put in front of you if you have some kind of innovation. So you can't have it both ways, can you? You can't have it all set up to be completely risk-proof and risk-free, and then on the other side go, why isn't there any innovation going on? If you have to
you're right, and he commented on the procurement process that we're all having to go through, maybe less than me, but I have to go through a huge now onboarding process with every company, and Robin was saying the same thing, and we're just small businesses, and this is not just days of work, it could be weeks of work on each of these things, because they're not consistent, they're not standardized in any way. And he was jokingly saying, I only occasionally use slaves, so I don't need a slavery policy. But I think that's nice tongue-in-cheek way of getting at it. But it is I commented underneath that people have started to talk to me about charging for this, or just opting out of working with these companies altogether. And I've had at least one instance this year where I've said, we can't work with you because your policies are too onerous in terms of the speed of delivery of what we're trying to offer you. And often, back in the day, we could deliver a report within a week, and we still can. But now with onboarding, the poor old client who wants the data has got to wait, 2 months sometimes or more. Yeah. And that is not right. And it's also one size fits all. So, but I think this is, I'm talking about procurement, but this is generally true. I think this is what's happening and the dangers of technology, which is that once, we can do it. So you hand it over to bureaucrats who say, well, I'll just ask endless, not thought through questions and make sure that all the boxes are ticked, but don't think in any way, shape or form of the practicalities of how business and commerce works, or whether there's really a risk even in the middle of it all.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it was good. I like that article from Robin. He always writes and speaks really well. And,
it's good. Yeah, we'll give him a big up if he's listening.
Yeah, well done for that. Right, let's move on. So I reflected a bit last week about my time at AMIC. It was a really great event. What I forgot was that it almost didn't happen because they had a big thunderstorm, a freak one, I think, on the Sunday, and it flooded the whole of the venue, and they had to work really hard. So I think it was pretty much touch and go whether they could go ahead, because of I guess water and electric don't mix. Put people in there as well, they could have a big claim. Anyway, they did. They got it all sorted out, and it was a great event. Anyway, this is from Sompo International through Slipcase, who were also there, by the way, Slipcase. And
we're meeting them in a few weeks, saying hello to Alex.
Yeah, I'm also I had a chat with them as well. It's an interesting company. So anyway, they got kind of 3 takeaways from the event. Obviously, it's hinged strongly around what they were there to talk about. But I can safely say that these were key themes that I certainly picked up on while I was up there. So the first one, complexity, if I can say it, and connectivity. Which, isn't anything new, but I think, as we've talked about in the past, it is just becoming even more interconnected and reliant on technology, on stuff that we don't understand how it works. But that is just where we are, right? So it's interesting as well that they pick up on the cyber related stuff. I went to a couple of workshops, one run by Willis Towers Watson, that was really interesting, looking at the capacity in the market and how it's grown over the last, I think, 18 months or so. But again, it's this kind of complexity and the changing nature of the risk. They were talking about kind of the attacks that happened a couple of years ago that were then all sorted out, and how they have now evolved and we're dealing with a different type of cyber threat now. I know an organization, I think I might have talked about it as well, that was hit locally, quite a big employer, food distribution, I think it is, but they were hit and were out of action for a long time. And it was all around kind of this, taking the employee details and then threatening to release them. But again, coming back to your, well, how risky is that really? If you've got somebody's workforce number and date of birth, yeah, okay, it could
I think the central, I mean, I know, talking to procurement people, the major concern is around hacking into their data. I think Aon's had a hack this week, hasn't it? Actually, in the press I saw. But actually, as you say, the hacking threat from like me and you is going to be nil, I think. Other than, of course, you can get into any weak link. But I think a lot of this has been it's more about the culture of the organisation and the internal behaviours than systemic or system issues, as it were. But I think it's the supply chain thing is coming through a lot in our claims work at the moment, and the cost of claims and the social inflation is coming through loud and clear. Not surprisingly, the world is economically very, very challenged, but also this connected issue is not just for insurance, but I think it means that you're going to have an impact on the types of organization that can really deliver these services and products. They've got to be much more global now. I think it's going to be hard to see how small specialists can do this sort of stuff, because it's these cyber risks have to be calculated across a whole series of jurisdictions and so on. So it is interesting changes, I think.
Yeah, the other one they said, again, pretty obvious, but the rise of AI, the way that they've positioned this is kind of, how do risk managers kind of gain the benefits that AI related and machine learning technologies could use. One interesting way is that they could use that software to actually kind of run checks on their own systems. If you got an intelligent piece of software that goes, this, looking at your architecture, your digital architecture, these look like the weak points, or things like that, or asking questions, or being able to scan the internet or whatever to find out what the next set of risks might be for your organization. You can see how that can be applied. So that's good.
I get it. Yeah. I think the other thing, though, is everybody's talking about AI, aren't they? So there's a sort of I was, again, the event I was at yesterday, we were just saying, what's the future? And everybody virtually in the groups I dealt with said AI, but then they said, but we're not doing that, so we'll tell you about something else we're doing. And actually, in a way, this whole kind of piece, I think, is not lose you. Got you.
No, still here.
Sorry, I just moved. Complicated as to where this goes if I press anything on my computer. Anyway, it's definitely become an awareness thing as well. So there's a comment in here I noticed. AI seems to be touching almost every aspect of our industry, but actually we've only been talking about it sort of properly since ChatGPT, which is about 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that statement is anything like true. I think it's where it was, but the potential and the prospect of it touching everything is there, but it's not necessarily there, is it?
No, I think you're right. I think that's a good point. I think everybody is talking about the opportunity and the threat rather than look how clever we've been at implementing this stuff.
Yes, it's definitely a lagging. The implementation is definitely lagging, and it does, as we said before, bring back memories of blockchain and other things that have not even in the dictionary perhaps anymore. But it's important, and I think it's all stuff we're seeing in reality in all sorts of other sectors.
Yeah. We'll get more on blockchain a bit later, Ben. It might prove you wrong. But anyway.
It's not coming back, is it? I hope not.
Well, it's back. Just the pace of change, I guess. And they've phrased it two ways. Within organizations, that they are transforming the way they work. And then if we do see a fourth industrial revolution driven by this high-powered technology, then we'll see again new ways of working and trading, which is fair enough. But I do take the point that the sense of change is palpable. I would agree with that. A lot of people I talk to in the techs and operations space that I'm close to feel that there is a real opportunity within the London market now to change. And just on that, I have watched the Blueprint 2 updates. I watched them, Ben, so you didn't have to. And I was
desperate to watch it, obviously. Yeah, nothing else to do.
But that is moving forward. They are putting in place the foundations, and it is moving forward now. So I think that's a positive step. It'll just be a foundational starting point, but at least it'll get some of the fundamentals in place. So that palpable sense of change. You can feel it when you talk to people. Definitely at Tintech, we felt it last week, didn't we?
What have they done on Blueprint? They've bought a laptop.
They've got a laptop and it's got a presentation on it.
All right. Sorry, I'm being rude. Sorry, Lloyds and Blueprint people. I just couldn't resist it.
I know. It's not your bag.
Long week.
It's been a long 2 weeks.
I just wondered what the foundations were, that's all.
Oh, it's all fine. Just watch it on the video. It's good. It's well worth. Not you, Ben, but everyone else.
People. Yeah.
Other people. Right, that's Sompo International's reflection on EMIC, which I somewhat agree with. There we are.
Well, you were there. You knew the story. That was like a scenario test, wasn't it? The flooding.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I'll tell them later. They say, actually, that's what they should have said. Actually, that's deliberate. So now you know what a real risk is, risk managers.
There we are. Right, let us move on to this. Awards, Ben.
Yeah.
Good awards that you ran, leading underwriters.
Yeah.
London Market Underwriters.
Yeah, it's the Insurindex event. So our data goes into this report, and then Insurindex features it. It's where all our third-party type collateral goes. It's a kind of publishing, really, but it's about the underwriters report. So we have made all the awards this week to the leading people anyway, the individuals in the companies. We've got another report coming out in a couple of weeks, so I'll just quickly run through it. So the leading underwriter overall was James Meacham of Arch Insurance International. We had the bench strength, which means the most underwriters mentioned was Beazley. So that was good for them. But brokers leading underwriter was Ollie Richards of Talbot Underwriting. Underwriters leading underwriter was Paul Gooch. So that's the peer group measure. The fastest riser overall for bench was Arch Insurance International. So they got a couple of awards. They're doing well. the female bench strength leader was Chaucer Group, and the two individual women, we do these as what we call spotlight awards, because the idea is we spotlight both the gender issue, but also we're hoping it's a demonstration effect, and the proportion of women in the underwriting world grows more than it has done. So the two women who got that were Nick Wood of Canopius and Victoria Buckingham of Munich Re, and there was a quite nice moment, wasn't it, when they got it, because there was a lot of really positive mood in the room. Actually, really good.
That's when it really took off, didn't it? It was
great, actually, and I do think that justifies kind of having that award, although some people are critical of it as it kind of defines women separately. I do get all that and I understand it, but it was a great celebration, and people were so pleased that those two had won it, as well as lots of other women are on the list, and you'll see that in the report. But it was good, yeah.
And I think we've also got picture of you taken in 1926.
I was saying what? Sorry.
Taken in 1926, before colour photography was.
Yes, it was. This is one of my early presentations. That's before computers. No, it was. I just did it in black and white, so it was timeless.
Yeah.
Have we got a photo of you? No, you're not.
No, I couldn't. I deleted it. Sorry.
You did a very good job of emceeing it. We're going to show a photo of you next week, though. You have to have your photo up there. I wasn't keen on mine, but do you want it black and white?
Yeah, okay, that's fine. In fact, we're going to use the new Photoshop, the beta version, to show how powerful some of this machine learning AI technology is, aren't we? And the potential
you're
risk.
going to define what you want to look like in the photo after you've done the event. And then I'm going to produce it. Yes.
Yeah. We'll do it live and we'll record it, but that's it. Let's just go back to this one, because the person in the middle is Lizzie Simmons, who is the Olympic swimmer from, not just from 2012, but she competed in the 2012 Olympics. And she gave a talk on what business could learn from elite athletes. And it was really engaging, stimulating, inspiring, and insightful talk, wasn't it? It was
excellent. She's a really good speaker, and I think she brought to life what it was like to be a professional athlete and how hard it is and how much you have to give up. But also, what I liked about it was she wasn't prescriptive that sport automatically translates or transfers into business. I think she was thoughtful about the things that might or could. And that was good, and she got a really good reaction, I think, from the audience as well. So she's very, very good. Yeah, really, really, really good.
Good. So shout out to Lizzie. Very good. Right.
Thanks to you for doing a great MC job as well. By the way, it was good. It was excellent.
Thank you.
As always, yeah, true pro.
Thank you. Before we move on, I've got some sports update. So Phil says we're 324 for 7. I assume that's a cricket score.
Not the show. Not something about the show.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Why is he not watching the show and watching the cricket? Tell him to focus and concentrate.
Okay. Well, you just have, because I guess he's got both things on. Right. So there we are. Everyone's up to date with the cricket. So let's move on. So I'm going to play a clip now. So Gary Nuttall took part at TinTech last week and was on the innovation stage. And I thought it was a good time, really, to look forward, I suppose, as we come up to summer. I guess it's a time just to look forward and think, well, what are these next iteration of digital and technology and all that kind of thing? And Gary did a pretty good talk on how the kind of the next generation of the web will manifest itself and what the implications are for insurance and particularly the London market. So let's play this clip. It's not very long, and then we will come back and chat about the themes that Gary talked about. So here we go.
Fundamentally, however, Next-Gen Web is about 3 things. As I say, it's about peer-to-peer computing, it's about Web3, and it's a mashup of the B word, and by which 6 years later, I don't mean Brexit, I do mean blockchain. And it is things like integrating it with AI and spatial computing. You're all familiar with spatial computing already, I presume? No. Oh, it's just as well I included a slide on it then, isn't it, in a minute? Okay, so what's the impact on insurance? And this is the thing that's really interesting people. Well, it's fascinating that we're talking about digitization and digitalization. We've only just moved to computerization, because we've only just moved off paper, I think it was 2 years ago. Finally, there's the mandate that all policies in the London market should be going through a policy placement system in some way. So I find the insurance market fascinating, because if you go into the Lloyd's building, they operate this, it's actually a working museum called the underwriting floor. And I'm actually very proud of it. I think it's remarkable. But when you go in there and you compare what you see now to, there's actually a painting on the 11th floor, I think it is, Lloyd's building, which shows the original Lloyd's coffee shop. And there's some various oil paintings up on the 11th floor that show the transitions. It doesn't look that different. So this actually, I think, is a positive thing, because it shows that the insurance business model is actually incredibly resilient and robust. It's its use of technology that just needs to catch up a bit. So how does this work in terms of next-gen web? So I'd say there was 3 things. First thing is that we're going to have to think about edge-based computing and about what the impact is on writing cyber risks. Now, I used to work for an insurance company. We wrote we had a cyber book. I would still argue a lot of underwriters who write cyber business don't actually understand the technology that they're writing. And I'm doing a lot of stuff with a US company at the moment around encryption and custody and everything. And the conversations where I'm trying to fill in a policy application or a policy submission to get insurance for what these folks are doing, it's like the underwriting form just does not understand what it actually is around encryption and that. But there are going to be opportunities around peer-to-peer insurance. So the last couple of years already, we're still seeing cyber growing, but the nature of it is going to change. So in one of the earlier sessions today, they're talking about building fences and building your castles and all this kind of stuff. That does not work when your computing is on your device. So a quick question for everybody, just to give an illustration of that. Who today, when they came into the city, assuming you're not actually city-based, used something like one of these? Hands up. Cash? No. I'm loving the faces of what's that?
I had to use some yesterday, made to pay for car park.
Yesterday, remarkable. Okay, let's move on in the era of technology then. Who actually used one of these? Did you pay? Yeah. Okay. Who actually used one of these? Yeah. Okay. And who used one of these?
Ooh, what's that?
Well, this is a HSM FIPS 140 Level 3 hardware security module. This is an NFC-enabled computer, okay? So this has got a computing capability, so you can write code in Java on it, and you can touch it on your computer, or your phone. So some of you probably already do stuff with NFC payments. And it's just touch to pay, it's an acknowledgement. Right, this is a computer. And when you touch it on here, it validates who you are and what you are. And so you're probably all using 2-factor authentication now, where it's password and fingerprint, so it's what you know and who you are. This is 3-factor authentication, because you have to have this as well. So hackers are going to struggle to hack this if it's in my back pocket, in addition to knowing a password and various other things. So that's the kind of things that are moving on. So there will be changes in cyber risk opportunities. Second thing, Web3, I mentioned. For those who don't actually know what Web3 is, because again, it's a bit buzzwordy, think about Web 1 was a website. It was static. It was like reading a newspaper. You could turn pages, nothing much more. Web 2 was where it's interactive. So think about where it gives like news sites, information, share trading, Bitcoin prices for those who are interested. You didn't actually have to keep updating it, did it automatically. But the really important thing was the transition from Web 1 to Web 2 was on Web 1, you had to type in your user ID and your password. Web 2, do you want to authenticate with Google? or use your Facebook account to authenticate. So that's where the kind of move is on there. Web3 is going to be using you to authenticate. So I realise that I'm out on time on that, but that's a really interesting thing because I did a review on TV a while ago about facial recognition for payments. So you won't need your phone, you won't need your watch, you won't need anything. You'll just look at the camera. Just like anyone flown through Hong Kong recently? Hong Kong, don't even need to show your passport. Now you just walk into the booth, you look at the camera, does a facial recognition scan, and says, it's Gary, he's not coming in. Or that'll let you in over. And then the third thing, bringing it all together, blockchain again, linking in with AI. I'm not going to mention ChatGPT, I just did. But there is a massive growth area on that. And that then links in with things like the metaverse and real world assets. So linking in real estate, property, all sounds a little bit too edgy for now. So let's close off with what spatial computing is. And this is about using things like virtual reality, augmented reality. Apple have recently launched their new product, which I think is $3,500. So I don't know how many of those Paolo's got, because he's an edge guy, he's really on there. Can anyone think about what one of the opportunities are with VR and AR headsets for insurance? Very quickly. Adjusting, yeah, you're ahead of the time there. More simply, it causes accidents. So in the last year, I think it's Aviva put up on this, because people have got these headsets on, and a bit like I talk to my kids when they're going to school, and they're like the Borg. The children going into school are so busy looking at their phones, and they walk into lampposts and all sorts, and it's really entertaining. It's going to be worse with VR and AR. So there's an opportunity to think about. Anyway, I hope that has sown a few seeds of thought. The idea of this really wasn't to educate on what those technologies are. I do actually run training courses on those kind of things if anyone's interested. It's just to plant a few seeds. I'll say thank you, connect on LinkedIn, blah-de-blah, enjoy your break. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, it just does build off your last point and what I said at the end also, which is just any tips and tricks for sort of getting executives interested without getting them to say, oh, that's too detailed.
Absolutely. So someone made the comment about how blockchain hasn't really worked or whatever. I actually have worked on projects where we are live with blockchain in insurance companies. And I was speaking to David, I think it was earlier on, and said, actually, the most successful technology project implementations are the ones that you don't know the technology. So one of the companies I work with, we're actually live with a blockchain-based solution doing policy admin management and claims handling. No one realizes it uses blockchain, and they shouldn't need to. So the way to get the executive support is to show the benefits without preaching the technology.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, can't hear you now.
How about that?
I can now. When you turn it on, it works.
That's always the professional tip. As always, smooth.
Go back there. I was doing a bit of three-factor authentication. Shoot me now.
Yeah,
Oh,
1,
God.
2, 3.
Can't do three-factor authentication, no.
So does that mean we have to have like an identity card in our pocket?
I don't know. I'm giving up. I'm not doing any of it. I'm just going rebel. I'm going
You're
to
going
a country
rogue.
where they don't do it. Rwanda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't do any more authentication. There's just no possible way. And especially having a card, I'm going to lose that card, that computer.
Yeah,
in a card.
definitely. A computer and a card. So there we are.
Well, we could have
So
a
stuff we've
headset
already
on and a card, and then we'll get our payment through.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I
good.
love the future. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Well, Gary's on, so
Where's all the fun things, Gary?
I told you blockchain would come back, Ben. So it's there in the background. You don't even know about it.
Come on, call it something new. Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's good. It's good. It's good.
I think, and we've already touched on a lot of this anyway, haven't we? It's sort of about the changing nature of risk, and obviously the web is developing. So it's going to be that kind of, I think, and we talk about this all the time. It's that sweet spot between kind of technology and human, and how it kind of takes out the friction.
Yeah, I mean, Gary makes a great. I mean, the point about the not understanding cyber risk on the policy documents is interesting, very interesting, and doesn't actually surprise me at all. But I think we'd say that about most of the policy documents we receive about our own businesses, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. Save them, Gary.
It's it'll be easier, not harder. That's good. Well, yeah, okay. Thanks, Mark. That's not been my experience so far, but I will.
Ben's having a bad technology day. Let's just put it that way.
Technology day, and I've just moved house. I can tell you most digital journeys don't work, but there we are. They want humans as far away as possible.
Factoid.
We'll get Mark on and Gary on, and we'll have a robust debate about it.
Yeah.
No, I seriously just did get asked to do an authentication of a bank account while I was on that call. My finance director asked me, but it wasn't that card thing or two-factor authentication. It was an insurer ringing me to check that I've actually got the bank account.
Good. Them's the breaks.
It's a confusing world, isn't it?
It is. Do you want one more from Gary?
Yeah. People won't need to keep in plan. You type in the details and proposals. Oh yeah, okay. That's good.
Good stuff.
Good.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Gary.
Oh dear. That's good. Right, I think that is everything, isn't it? We've
almost everything. There's one thing.
There is one thing.
Tour de France.
There is one thing. The Tour de France starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Before we get onto the Tour de France, I just want to talk about theme parks. I'm going to Thorpe Park tomorrow.
Okay. Aren't you a bit old for that?
Thank you. We'll find out tomorrow.
What are you going on? Stealth?
All the big ones. All the big ones. Yeah. So Colossus is the one that we liked last time. It's a roller coaster that flips you around and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that. I didn't go on it. The stealth one goes straight up and down, doesn't it?
Yeah, we didn't go on that because at the time it was broken, and then I thought I'm not going to be the first one to get back on it after they've fixed it.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, we went on something else, like a bouncy castle or something.
The thing I like about those theme parks is the healthy food they serve. Yeah,
you leave feeling sick on a number of counts.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, high fiber, not
exactly. So anyway, I'll come back tomorrow to watch the highlights of the Tour de France. So you're right, Ben. It's starting. Very excited.
Yeah, we'll do our little report on it next week. What have we got coming up next week?
We have. I think we've got your report coming out, haven't we? So we can.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the underwriter report. Yes, we've got e-trading.
E-trading report.
Got an e-trading report coming out.
Yeah, I've just done a bit of work on some things that have come out of TinTech. So we will. We'll give you those as well for nothing.
Yeah.
And
it's good you get free stuff on here.
Yeah, we'll just carry on commenting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we get some guests the week after, haven't we? We'll get into
yes,
the week after,
indeed. Yeah. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the lowdown on the big ticket platform. They're a big at AirMic. So it's an open banking, as far as I can tell, an open banking style platform for renewals in the commercial client commercial lines. So I think that's got big potential to disrupt the industry. But I'll come back because I'm having a meeting with them next week. I'll give you the lowdown.
Ah, that's good. Yeah, that's a tip that I will not be taking.
Oh, there you go.
Knowing your track record.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We shall see
thanks.
you.
Thanks, Gary, Mark, for commenting. That's great. Yeah, we'll get
Thanks
you on
for
the
that.
show.
Cricket update. I think we're 9.
Nine?
He's put
Well, that's that.
bad news.
Not
That's how
cricket
many.
score.
That's how many wickets we've lost.
I was a cricket scorer for a while. I did play as well, but I was also done scoring. It's one of the most stressful jobs ever.
Is it? I
Scoring
used to.
cricket.
My first job after leaving the university was I worked for the parks department of the council in Luton, and they had a great big playing pitches that I had to go and mark out with the line marking machine. And man, in those days it was a manual thing, so you had to eye it up and kind of just go for it, and then you'd look back and it was just this wiggly line. I was just going, oh Jesus.
Oh, I know. I'll tell you a quick anecdote before we go. My dad was a teacher for some time, and he had to do the school sports day at this school, primary school he was at, or no, secondary school he was teaching at, and they basically marked out the running track about 2 meters too short, so that all these school records that had stood for 50 years all got broken. And the punchline is he didn't tell anybody, so they all these records still stand in the school.
That's hilarious. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's good. Right, on that record-breaking note, we will leave you. Have a good weekend, everybody, and see you next week.
Have fun. Bye.